This is adding, this is taking the units from 3 to 4, because the 201, the X course is a 1-unit course. Yes?
Is there like a specific reason that they were enrolled in Econ 201 as opposed to stats?
Well, I don't have an econ degree evaluation, so I don't know. All it says is register for either calculus or statistics. I don't know as an econ major if they're forced into a specific econ. That's where you use their degree evaluation to look. You'd go to the major prep and you'd look at the stats and see what's listed there. Because if there's multiple options, it's usually going to be listed all out in the degree evaluation. When they just say it like the way they say it on the map, that typically means there's multiple options and they can't fit them all in.
Okay.
With business students, they only get 2 choices on the map and on the degree evaluation, Stats 119 and Econ 201. So that's easy for them to put it in on that map and on the degree evaluation. When you see it just open like that, typically the degree evaluation is going to give you a long list.
So in that case, as long as it's on the list, it doesn't matter if they're enrolled in Econ or stats. Like if it says.
Yeah, that's where they use their degree evaluation. Does that make sense? Okay, any other questions? Okay, are we all on the same page so far? Alright, so we're going to kind of skip over the GE Social and Behavioral Science / American Institutions. Well, actually, before I skip over that, what would you use to help the student select a course? Their degree evaluation. Yeah. So we'll cover that more in depth next week when we go over the degree evaluation. Yes?
Okay, sorry. One more last question about like the first cross out.
Yeah.
So I get that why we enrolled them, why we're saying that they need to enroll in Econ 201, but could they have enrolled in Stat 119X?
No. So the X course, remember, is the child of the math course. Yeah. So it's the parent and the child. So the moment they chose Econ 201, they chose the parent. And the only child that goes with this parent is Cal 201X, and that's on that slide.
Okay.
If they chose Stats 119, Stats 119 is the parent of Stat 119X.
Okay.
So parent and child have to stay together. Yes?
Why does then Calc and Stat show for the GE Math and not Econ and Calc? Like, why do we have to change it? And it's not already come with that major. So like it already comes written under, for example, for the major Econ, for the math, that they have to do like Calc or Stats for the GE Math part on the primary. But since it's for Econ, why doesn't it already come with Econ written on it?
I'm going to guess because they're allowed to pick between their stats classes. My guess is that when you look at the degree evaluation for an econ major, that it's going to have a whole list of stats courses that are eligible. So Econ 201 is just one stats class. So, for example, if we go to, so there's a bunch of different stats options here. If you look at prep under econ, it says Econ 201, which is a stats course, stats or stats 119 or stats 250.
So they can pick Stats 119 if they wanted to.
Yes. Not 250 though, because
Yes.
250 doesn't have an academic support course with it.
Got it, yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so if they pick stats 119, then they just have to pick stats 119X. I just did it for these purposes because we don't have a degree evaluation.
Yeah.
When I quiz you on this next week, I'm not going to give you one that doesn't list a specific course.
Okay.
So I'm going to kind of guide you in that way, okay? Any other questions? Okay. So we'll go into a little bit more detail next week, when we go over the degree evaluation. And so now we come to another, and this is where I said when there's specific courses, we have to do something in particular. So what is it we have to do? We have to check if there's prereqs. You're exactly right. So we see that the map is suggesting to the student that they take in Econ 101 or in Econ 102, and it states that it is a social and behavioral science as well as a major prep course. So now what we do is we go to the catalog and we look at Econ. So we're going to look at the prerequisite for Econ 101 and Econ 102. take either one. So on the lower right-hand side of page 222 is the descriptions for Econ 101 and Econ 102. Is there a prerequisite? Yes, can somebody read me what that prerequisite is? It's the same for both courses. Anybody?
Satisfaction of the SDSU mathematics and quantitative reasoning assessment requirement.
Okay. Has the student met the prerequisite for this class? No, because they need their math competency. So that means then we have to personalize that part of it, because we know right away that they don't have the prerequisite. Because they need the math competency, so they don't have that competency yet. So we would cross this off. And at that point, it's gonna be more a conversation with the student of what do they wanna take? And that's again where their degree evaluation is gonna come in. Because if they say, you know what, I wanna go ahead and take a GE Humanities. So, and again, these are not the most updated maps. So you actually see humanities listed 4 times here because that's what used to be required, but now it's only 3. So on the new maps, you'll see that reflected. Actually, maybe it has already been updated. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it hasn't. So you'd only see GE Humanities 3 times on this map for 2019. So if they say, I want to pull over at humanities, that's when we stop. We go to the degree evaluation for that student and we look in the humanities just to make sure they don't already have courses. Does that make sense? So we're guiding them in picking the correct thing. And that goes for any class that they say, okay, I'm going to pull up a GE from another semester. Okay, any questions on this? Okay. All right, let's move on to another example. All right, so we're looking at the second page of that packet that you have. And if it makes it easier for you to rip this packet apart, it's your packet, do with what you please, but just please do try to keep it in order for just this training. Okay, so now we're looking at a mechanical engineering student. Something that I didn't add in, I realized it after I already printed all of them. If the student is in a STEM major, next to the major it will say STEM in parentheses. Okay, so now we come down to the required courses and the status of those required courses. So we can see that this student needs a writing competency assessment. They need their critical thinking course, their mathematics, quantitative reasoning course, and their old communication course. So now when we come down to required course sequence, we look under fall, and we see that it's specifically listing RWS 105A. Why is that? Exactly, it's a prerequisite to RWS 105B. RWS 105B is what will clear the writing competency as well as their written communication course. If this was an international student, it would list Linguistics 100A and Linguistics 100B. And then it also, under mathematics, it also says they need to register for their mathematics quantitative reasoning course. So now we know what we need to do to personalize the enforced registration. So we go over, and the first course listed is GE Composition. So, again, this will say written communication. So we're going to cross that off. And what am I going to write in? I'm going to write add RWS 105. When we're helping the student personalize the math, we want to just be focusing on the fall semester. It's tempting to try to move forward and just personalize their entire first 2 years, but we don't want to do that. Can anyone guess why?
Because they might change it.
They could change their major. What's some other reasons? It's time consuming. Overwhelming, right? Because we really want the day that they're at orientation, yes, we're teaching them how to use tools, and yes, we want them to be thinking long-term, but really orientation that one day, our main focus is getting them into the lab, getting them into the classes, explaining to them how to utilize their tools to get them through the first day. Does that make sense? Okay. So when we're quizzing, when we're doing the final, and when we're helping students, this is kind of what I want to see, is just that focus on that first term. All right, so we've added the RWS 105A. And now we go to the next class. So we see a specific course here, so what do we need to do? Check the pre-req. I could basically go home. You all got this. All right, so we flip to math in the catalog. And on page 354, the map said map 150. So, oh, that's conveniently highlighted. So on page 354 on the bottom right-hand side, the prerequisite for map 150 is knowledge of algebra, geometry, and trigonometry as demonstrated by either satisfactory completion of mathematics 141 with a grade of C or better, or qualification on the mathematics placement assessment. This is referred to as the ALEX. Proof of completion of prerequisite required. So, we know, because it's on their personal information sheet, that they do have to register for a mathematics quantitative reasoning. Oh, I'm sorry, I just skipped a step. So I just said math 141, right? Yeah. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh. Okay, so now we know that it's math 141. So let's just say the student has not taken the assessment. So remember, the ALEX is a 3-part assessment. They have to take 2 online exams, and then they'll take the proctored exam. If the student has not taken the ALEX prior to orientation, then we just have to go with the course that is the prerequisite. Okay? So in terms of quizzing and final, we're going to assume that the student has not yet taken the ALEX. All right? Yes?
Is the Alex new?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's a newer name for it. Is that right?
Was it formerly the ELN?
No, no. The ELM and the ALEX are 2 separate things. So the ELM no longer exists, but no, the ALEX was never the ELM.
Yeah, going up about Alex, if you took AP classes,
AP math courses?
or like, I never took it either, so like, how would we have gone about?
Maybe the ALEX is new. Is the
I
ALEX
think
new?
it might have to do with your,
Josh? Yeah.
Josh has it.
It's actually been around for a few years now. It's the pre-calculus proficiency exam, but Alex is the company that administers it. So you probably took a pre-calculus proficiency exam, or based on any sort of test scores that you may have had, you may have tested to do a higher math.
Or you didn't have to. Like, if you were in a non-STEM major, you wouldn't have taken the pre-calculus placement test because you didn't need the calculus series. Yes?
Where would it show on the personal information sheet if they did take the ALEX, and like what would it say?
It won't show on the personal information sheet. So if a student tells you, hey, I took the ALEX, what you want to have them do is log into their ALEX test score. They'll have their own student account on there. And because sometimes what will happen is a student will be very insistent that they took it and they passed it. And they don't understand why they're being enforced to go into the prerequisites. And what you want to do is you look at the score, and when you pull it up, you'll see 3 circles. The first 2 are the online, and the third is the proctored. And if the proctored is blank, that means they didn't take the proctored exam. And you'll explain to the student that that is the score we use in order to decide if they got a satisfactory score on the placement. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, yes.
This might be a stupid question, but
No such thing.
for like this part, would we be doing this like in the library? Because I know when I went through orientation, like our advisor kind of went through it with us.
This part will be done, personalizing the map will be,
Library most likely, if you can fit it in during your small group presentation, that's normally a good time to do it.
like, not a lot of people do with their advisors then?
No, not, most of the time the colleges, like when the college deans and their advisors come up, some of the colleges will like do that, like I know Ed Claire does it that way. But most of them I don't think do.
I'd say it depends more so on the major advisors that you're dealing with. Some of them are really hands-on and wanna like plan out every single student's meeting. Some don't even know what to do for the presentation, so they just kind of wing it a lot of the time.
And also in your small groups, there's focus on that, right, Frankie?
Not so much.
Okay.
Not so much.
Good to know. So the library.
I would say most of it.
Computer labs are, it really depends on your assistant dean and major advisors.
I just know in the past that we definitely wanted to avoid having students come in with blank maps. And sitting down at computers with like no idea what to register
So
for.
that's where the major advisors come in, but sometimes they take everyone.
Okay,
And then also during your presentations, that's where they start to like.
that's where they start, yeah. Maybe Frankie and I will talk about this a little further, just so I have a better understanding. Okay, we'll come back to that, we'll revisit that. All right.
Yeah, I think what we don't want is for students to go into the lab not knowing what a map is, not, so that they actually have seen it. And
Yeah.
have a pretty good understanding of what the person thinks.
Yes,
But a master's part, like they said, I think it depends really on the college
okay.
and the major environment, because they all work a little bit differently.
So in the small group, you guys aren't talking about the maps, you're talking about,
The catalog.
Catalog.
You're going through the catalog, the student handbook, and basically going over that information for the small group presentation. By the time you get to, I would say, by the time you get there, they've already seen all the materials.
okay,
They've seen the map because of your presentation, they've seen the degree evaluation because of your presentation.
Okay.
And then after our small group presentation, at least the way it works in business, is then we go to the deans and then we go to the major advisors.
Okay.
And then at the major advisors, they don't necessarily do it the way that you do, but they will help them. Tell them like, oh, we need this, or, and then by the time you get to the labs, that's when you're actually able to sit down with them and actually plan.
Okay.
It's normally, that's how it worked for business, I don't know that anything else.
yeah.
My major advisor went over.
Yeah. One of the things I know that myself and my colleagues from our office, we want to avoid, like, that's fine, obviously, yeah, if they're needing to fill it out in the library. What we want to avoid is a student sitting down at the computer and going like this. So my first question is gonna be like, where's your degree evaluation? So get out your degree evaluation, get out your catalog. So we do definitely, if we do run into that, we want to encourage the students to getting out all their tools so that they can start going through it. Is that, okay. Is there any questions on that? Okay. So, all right, so let's go back to Math 150. So let's just assume the student has not taken the ALEX. So we know that the prerequisite for Math 150 is Math 141. So now what we need to do is look at Math 141 to see if 141 has a prerequisite. And we see that it does. So the prerequisite to Math 141 is knowledge of algebra as demonstrated by 1, satisfactory completion of Mathematics 105 with a grade of C or better, or 2, qualification on the Mathematics Placement Assessment. So we've already said the student is not taken the Mathematics Placement Assessment. So then we know that they can't take 141 yet. So we'll go up to 105, does not have a prerequisite. And that is the math that they will need to take. Yes.
So I have a question, so like, let's say, they didn't meet the prerequisite for Math 150, but they had, like, put and so like then you went to math 141, but then you saw that they had like completed